Hello, my friends, and welcome back to 15-Minute Free Thinking with Carpo, me, your host. Today I'll be talking about Wu-Wei and a little of Taoism, but mostly Wu-Wei, which is non-doing, or the art of non-doing, and procrastination, the difference between the two, and whether we can even distinguish the difference between the two sometimes. People might ask, what is Wu-Wei? And just consider it a Buddhist philosophy of non-doing, that things flow and work out the way they work out. At a certain point, following this can work immense wonders for some people in their psyche, following your bliss or following your dreams, but that's a little more complicated. Because Wu-Wei isn't necessarily just not doing anything and letting things come to you. It's rather floating in the river, letting the current take you where it takes you. I always love the river analogy for life because you're always going downstream. You can fight against the current, but you can't go backwards. It's a fast-moving river. You might be able to steer yourself closer to a slower area, or you might get stuck in an eddy. You might be in the rapids for a while, then be in a calm. But ultimately, you might go under. We all go under eventually. But the thing is not to assume that everything's just going to fall into place for us. For me, the master procrastinator, I will wait till the very last minute to get anything done I need to get. And that's why I'm making this video for others who have similar situations where, for example, I've been working on remodeling my house. It's been a few months now. We're only just doing a couple bathrooms, and I mentioned this and I showed the remodel when I started. I'm finished with the bathrooms, but there's these little pieces like thresholds, adding pictures and things. But our goal was to move to the garage. Now I'm sitting in my office space. It's about, 16 feet by 7 or 8 feet. It's not too big, but it's big enough for me. And then on the other side of this wall is the whole garage area with the garage door. And then there was a wall here. As a carpenter for many years, there was originally a wall in here at one time, and then the owner had taken it out to fit his boat in the garage again. Then we put the wall back in. Then I took it out again because I was doing carpentry and building cabinets, and I needed to be able to rip boards inside in a dry climate. So over the years, we decided we're going to remodel this garage. My wife really wants to get it done, and it's one of those things I've been procrastinating on. And as I walked through the mess out there of stuff that we have moved to the center of the room so we can paint the walls, fix the drywall, patch things, there's part of me that says I should be getting in the car right now to drive down to Lowe's, pick up the sheets of plywood I need to build the cabinet I need. And that once I get started on this, I'll probably have the cabinet done in a day or two and fix the drywall in a half a day, get all the rest of the painting done in a day. The only real hard part is the popcorn ceiling, which I've convinced my wife to leave because it's such a pain in the ass to cover. Anyhow, not to go into too many details, but there's also flooring. We got a really good deal on Craigslist on this bamboo interlocking vinyl flooring that we're going to put out in the garage there with like a cork bottom. And part of me just wants to put the flooring down, just to see it, because it's like, I want to get finished. There's a process, though. And in construction, there's a process of the way things have to go. You work your way up sometimes, but there's other times when you work your way down. For example, if you're doing painting, you do the ceiling and then you put the flooring in last unless you have it covered. These processes that you learn are things that can save a lot of time in life. You can apply these principles to pretty much any line of business. Even just simple being a cashier or stocking shelves. Knowing where to start and how to make it work takes a little bit of forethought. But too much planning, you end up running in circles and getting nothing accomplished. And this is where I'm going to tie this into the Wu-Wei situation. First, I should just read a couple of things that I had taken notes on. First was a quote that I liked. Don't remember where I got this quote from, but it said, "It's not what you learn, it's how you learn." And I thought that was really, it wasn't intended even a quote, it was just something that somebody said in a sentence. I thought, that's it right there. It's not what you learn, it's how you learn. You can learn how to do every specific detail on one aspect of something, but completely miss the bigger picture, not seeing the forest for the trees, so to speak. And a couple of little things that I also took notes on. One says, life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. And that could be written by anybody in any time, but that was actually from Lao Tzu, the founder of philosophical Taoism. So, the next quote says, if you realize that all things change, there is nothing you will try to hold on to. If you are not afraid of dying, there is nothing you cannot achieve. That was also Lao Tzu. And, these simple little lessons, reading Zen quotes, I've noticed that they go over our heads a lot of the time. As I was growing up and reading some early Buddhist texts and some philosophies about karma and Wu-Wei and understanding balance and these, the eightfold paths and all these different methods, I realized the more complicated these methods are instituted, the more people sway from them and kind of blow them off and ignore them. It's the idea, if you want to, it's kind of like having a 37-fold path, right? No thanks. Too many things to remember. But these simple quotes that get right to the point, be like water, or follow the river, or take the path of least resistance, and then somebody else will say blaze your own trail. And both of these are appropriate according to where you're going. We can't see through the forest to know if we need to make a new trail. So, in today's Western society, living in the U.S., where I live in the West Coast, it doesn't matter really where you live in today's world because we're so interconnected that we pretty much all share a lot of these, same concerns and ideas and realities, if you will. I think that a lot of society right now is resisting reality. And reality is a current. Just like currency, the reason why money is called cash flow, and why they call it currency, literally is, the etymology goes back to current, to flow, that's supposed to keep moving. If you stagnate with money, it becomes, there's a well-known, that you can't eat money, right? Well, you can't also eat ideas, okay? You can build up a huge arsenal of knowledge and awareness about the world around you, and you can share that with everyone else, and you can be so sure that what you believe is true and what you know is right. But when you meet a lot of resistance, then that flow gets broken. So, for example, if I told you that, life can be difficult, but there's moments of joy, a majority of people would agree with this. Now, there will always be that one guy who says there are no moments of joy, it's all sorrow. And there would always be that one guy who says there are no bad moments, all is good, because he's totally in denial of what good even is, which is a direct reflection of what is bad in your life. And these are subjective. But the more that we can use mental faculties to consciously think our way out of negativity, which is possible, that can be a huge benefit. In other words, seeing the positive in things, seeing the glass half full is a crucial way to live. But it doesn't mean that we have to ignore everything that's bad. Folks who say, well, there is nothing in this world that's bad and everything has a purpose and a reason. Folks who I believe personally misunderstand the term karma. They truly believe if they do something, they're going to have an equal outcome somehow in their lives, maybe through a different force. But this just hasn't proven itself to be true. What they really mean by karma is every action has a reaction. And your action may affect someone else. And when we look around and we see those who negatively affect us, they're breaking our flow. Naturally, we create places for them. We create these ideas like hell or living future lives where they pay the price, because we just can't believe that we're born, we live this life, and by the time we figure it out, then we're gone. And that's where the conquering death part comes in. Nobody ever fully conquers their fear of death. Even those who have explained it well, like Alan Watts. He says, what was it like? People say, what will it be like after I die? And he says, well, we're not sure, but do you remember what it was like before you were born? I say, no. They say, well, it's like, do you remember what it's like to be asleep? You just go to sleep and then you wake up in the morning. All of a sudden you're awake. Maybe you remember some dreams. Maybe you don't. But perhaps it's like going to sleep and never waking up. Even in your dreams, you're in another conscious reality. The point being that it's okay to accept mortality and not have to worry about the long-term outcome, knowing that this is the river we're flowing into the ocean, and the ocean is coming. We can't divert the river. It's always going, ever flowing downhill, and picking up a lot more people along the way. So, to get back to the procrastination and how to tie this together, the art of not doing can hold us back from accomplishing great things. Something that I can't teach you any lessons that you've already learned that I haven't learned, right? I can tell you stories about other people's situations. But if I'm going to go and reflect on my own life, procrastination and delaying action would be one of the things that has held me back. I've held myself back, rather. It doesn't hold me back. I hold myself back. It's the part of myself I haven't programmed yet properly, as well as the second one, which is patience. And patience is a virtue, cannot be overstated. It is such a crucial thing to be patient. And I'm a relaxed person. I'm a calm person. I don't get very angry. I don't hold in grudges or resentment. But I still find myself impatiently driving through traffic or not wanting to wait in a line, things like that, and having to step back and saying, this is going with the flow. Sometimes breaking the flow is going with the flow. So, perhaps talking about these things opens up a part of me that says, you just made a video talking about procrastination and going with the flow and Wu-Wei, something you're well aware of. But that means you should get these other things done that you need to get done. But I want to determine one final thing here that I think is crucial. Procrastination is not the same as laziness. In fact, many people who procrastinate tend to do many things in the meantime. It's not that they're just sitting around necessarily doing nothing. I do a lot of research, but that's not really considered a valid job, at least not for me yet. But, for example, my wife bought me some leather for Christmas, a whole bunch of these leather scraps, and I got a big old bag over here. Actually, there's a huge box, and I've been making things for myself, like knife sheaths, and I made this really cool pouch that I'm wearing on my side right here, that I use to put a baggie in for collecting specimens and rocks and things when I'm traveling. I enjoy making things. So I have resin jewelry, I have leather jewelry, I have stonework, I have a cabochon making setup with, basically cabochons are just stones that are oval and polished to a rounded or domed top or faceted, but something that's worn in a necklace, right? And years back I bought this, rock grinder from somebody off Craigslist, and it's got the different wheels and the buffing wheel. I'll get into something for a while, I'll get really into something for a while, and then my interest will fade and wane, and I'll think, how did I ever have so much energy to do that? And how was I ever so focused on that? And what that has taught me is that if I just jump right back in for a minute, it's like riding a bike. I used to make leather pouches when I was about 16, 17 years old. Same thing. We got leather scraps from Oregon Leather downtown, and I made these really cool deer hide pouches. Very simple, crappily done, never had the right tools, and just like today I don't. I'm just using what I have, and it's far from perfect, some of the stuff that I make. But I'm okay with that. I just love creating, so I'm trying to tie that to how do I turn creating into, feeling productive, right? I mean, sure, you can sell your art and your jewelry, but there's a part of me that has been raised and programmed by the society the same way that all of you have, that says that you're a starving artist, or you end up being one of the few, the 1% that, or less than that become, say, famous artists. And of course, I won't even get into the fact that most of what they consider $1 million art to me is crap, but that's my opinion on it, Jackson Pollock, that kind of stuff. It's just, hey, maybe I'm just too dumb to get it, right? Like some of the memes that are overplayed. It's like, folks want to feel cultured, so they have to go along with what others are thinking is important. Not just with art, with everything. We're told that we need to work hard. We're told that we need to buckle down and do these 10-hour, 12-hour, 15, 16-hour days in order to be accomplished. You know? And it's bullshit. It is. I grew up being taught that the work ethic is important. When I do work, I work hard. When I was a carpenter, I busted my ass. Literally ended up messing up my sciatic nerve and having my lumbar, my fourth and fifth, lumbar in my spine here, like basically crushing, the nerve, so I couldn't feel anything hardly, and my leg would be, hurting all the way down to my toe, and it was just a nightmare. But I persevered and I worked my ass off because that's what I did. That's the person I was taught to be. When I worked at a pizza joint when I was 18, I worked my ass off. When I worked in a factory processing rotten food that had spoiled in stores for like insurance purposes, maggots coming down the conveyor belt, I worked my ass off. Every place I've worked and everybody I've worked for, I'm the kind of guy where people can leave the job site and I don't sit on my ass after the boss is gone. And I've worked with plenty of guys like that. I've been told to slow down more often than I've been told to pick up the pace by far. My coworkers would get mad at me because I'd show them up by putting in too much lumber or building too much while the boss was gone. It's like, dude, it's like, yeah, when this job is done, I'm like, look, I work this pace I work. That's my pace. So my point of bringing that up is everything I've done, I've tried to put my all into. Sometimes I just don't have the all to put into something. I'm just not feeling it. But even if it's something like doing the garage, just like remodeling my bathroom, once I get in there, I sit down with the tape measure and go, okay, this is what I'm doing. You get into the flow. And once you get into your flow state, you just go. I just go. That's the hope, is that no matter what it is that we're procrastinating on, the thing that we don't want to do the most is sometimes the thing that we need to jump on and get done. And it's often that very simple thing, something like making a phone call or whatnot. But in the Western world that we live in here, it's difficult because many of the values that society has about what's important, I do not share. I don't think of it's really difficult to explain without sound bites here. I can't just say, I don't believe that the economy matters or the stock market matters. I know that they do matter because they reflect a larger, financial issue. We're stuck in many of the systems that we have. But I don't approve of many of the, values that society has placed upon some of the things that it's placed upon. But I also realize that humanity as a whole kind of decides some of these things. We decide what is important. And we share that with other people. And we've just got to try to keep flowing and stay in our state. And I think that, I should finish up by saying that how do you know if you're not going with the flow, right? How do you know if, you're resisting too much? It's pretty simple. For a lot of folks, I think you can look within and see that. Because when I've fucked up in my life, when I've resisted, I know I'm doing it. I can feel it in my gut. And when I let go of that or get it done, I always feel great. It's like a giddy feeling when we accomplish something, even something simple. But if we are constantly angry, if we're constantly harassing other people or calling other people names or placing blame on our parents or our, the rest of society for where we are at right now, that's a really common one. Pointing the finger and placing blame on others. It's something that is not going to satisfy us in any way. And mind you, sometimes people do need to be blamed for certain things that they've done. But you have to get over it. You may be in the right, but it's your energy being wasted on their crap. I think a lot of the resistance that people feel is from what I mentioned in that comment about accepting the truth. Truth is truth. And many folks are denying the truth and reality of what goes on in the world by creating a second reality. In the modern day, what do we call those? Alternative facts, right? And that's a thing now. And it's nothing new, it's just that it's out in the open. In other words, people have always believed absurd things that we know aren't true deep down inside. But we do it for security reasons, because it makes us feel good. Because somehow we gain more from the community of others believing that than we do the gain from being honest with ourselves, which is understandable. But I won't go into specifics, because you as an individual, just like I, know when something just doesn't feel right or isn't true. And when we deny the truth, one thing I've noticed is those are often the times when people claim that they have the super truth. This is the truth about the truth about the truth, and often it's almost like they're trying to convince themselves. But I think that that really holds us back. The other side of that is blaming society by saying everybody else is a fool. And somehow this small group knows what's best, and maybe sometimes that's correct. But going against the general flow of consensus holds us back. I mean, even the few people who still deny that our climate is changing, regardless of why, right? Or that the future is going to be different, or there will be mass migrations, or desertification, or food shortages, or we have locust swarms, and we're even in denial, a lot of people, about a virus even existing or being a problem. We've entered a time when going with the flow often means ignoring the truth, and it never works in the end. But I don't know the solution to that, and I definitely know I don't have all the truth. None of us can, but I think that being honest with ourselves is something that's very crucial to not letting our mood swings get the best of us. Just go with the flow. Anyhow, that's what I've got for today. So thanks for listening, and I appreciate your viewership or listenership. Thank you to all my patrons. I appreciate your donations. It means a lot to me. And feel free to join me on my Discord server, where I have various chats about different subjects. And come visit my podcast, 15-Minute Free Thinking, if you haven't already. Many different episodes and a lot of different things to talk about. Be well. Take care of each other. I'll talk to you next time.